Hi, I'm Isabella. I'm a first-year law student. I'm going to be talking about Claudette Colvin. She was the first person to refuse to abide by segregation laws in terms of buses in the US, similar to what Rosaparks did. However, she did it first. In Montgomery, Alabama, which is where Claudette Colvin was from, there were segregation laws for buses, which meant that the back of the bus was designated for Black people and the front of the bus was designated for white people. However, when the front of the bus was full, and if there was still a white passenger who needed to sit, Black people were obligated by law to give up their seats, and it's not just giving up the seat that they were sitting in, but anyone who was sitting in that row, so that the white person wouldn't have to fraternize with them in order to allow the white person to sit. Claudette Colvin wanted to be a lawyer when she grew up. She was sitting in the bus, and she was asked to give up her seat for a white woman, and she refused. She was dragged off the bus, she was handcuffed, and she was screaming, "It's my constitutional right, it's my constitutional right to sit here." She was arrested, and then her case was taken to trial on May, and she was found guilty on one of the counts. She was charged with not respecting the segregation laws, with causing a public disturbance, and with assault. In that time, it was completely normalized, especially in the South, to be violent, to be almost disgusted, no, not almost, to be completely disgusted by Black people if you were white. There were very few allies, if any, and it was the status quo to believe yourself to be superior just because of your race, and believe that just by fraternizing with people who were Black, you were gonna become inferior. Later, after the Montgomery bus boycotts, there was this case that went to the Supreme Court, which is Browder v. Gale, which basically established that segregation laws, such as the ones in Montgomery, were unlawful. They appealed the case, saying that Colvin shouldn't be charged with disrupting the peace or not abiding with segregation laws, as they were unconstitutional to begin with. So she was left with the sole charge of assaulting a police officer, which she didn't even do. She just kind of stepped on his toes. Even though Claudette Colvin was the first person to stand up to these bus laws, she did not become the figurehead for the movement. It was Rosa Parks. And there are different theories as to why. So after the entire incident in the bus, Claudette became pregnant with an older man's child, and she was 15. And what people in the movement believed is that she would not be a good figurehead. She would be something that white people would kind of use against them and overall lead to the detriment of the movement. Other people theorized that it was something to do with colorism, with age. As Rosa Parks had lighter skin, her hair was straighter, she conformed more to the white image of an acceptable Black woman, while Claudette was a darker, younger, kind of rebellious child. She could be painted that way very easily, so activists were reluctant to put her as a figurehead or even a prominent figure of the movement. It kind of bugged me that when I was researching her, a lot of the info comes from Rosa Parks biographies, and they paint her as almost an accessory to Rosa Parks when she was her own person who did her thing as well. It's not that she was an accessory to Rosa Parks, it's that she did it first. She literally did it first. And a lot of biographies will kind of diminish Claudette Colvin in favor of raising Rosa Parks when there is no need to do that in the first place. We can just hold both women up without having to bring one down in order to make the other one look better.